we're going to learn, this should say factoring trinomials with bigger coefficients, not with no bigger, and that should not be a key. So if I have something like this, one way I could do it, and the way I usually do it, is kind of guessing and checking what goes where, and what you're trying to do is figure out what two things I can what two binomials I can multiply together to get this thing, okay? So I already know what has to go here and here, because there's only two things I can multiply to 7. What are they?
2, 5.
What are they two things I multiply to 7?
2, 5, 1, and 7.
1 and 7, right? 1 and 7. But when you have this number here, this messes everything all up, okay? And so you can't just say what two numbers add up to 13 and multiply by 7. First of all, there are no two whole numbers that multiply to 7 add to 13. And secondly, it wouldn't be correct to do it that way. So another way to think about it is to draw a box, okay? And if you're good at doing math in your head, you can just do the box method. So I'll show you this way. And then I'll show you the cross and box method, okay? So what you're doing with the box method, you're going backwards. So you put the 6n squared in here, okay? And then you put the, what goes here?
13.
No.
7.
7, right? And then you have to think these two things right here, this plus this, have to add up to what?
13.
13n, okay? So then you have to figure out what goes here and what goes here, which is not that easy to do, okay? Whoops, I want to erase this. Okay, 8 and 5? No, we already decided what are the only two things that have to multiply to 7? 1 and 7, right? So you know that a 1 has to go either here or here, and it doesn't really matter which one you put where, okay? And then something else has to go over here and here, okay? And one way, the way I've always done it, until Mrs. Voss taught me this way.
The fraction one?
Yeah, the cross and box
Oh,
method.
so you're going to do the Indian method too or not?
Let's just do this method first, okay? Is to think of what two numbers, what multiplies to 6n squared. What are my two possibilities? 2 and 3. So one possibility is to put a 2n here and a 3n here, okay? And I would make this plus and put this plus. And 1 times 3 is? 3n. And 2 times 7 makes 14n. And then you say, uh-oh, does 14 plus 3 add up to 13?
No.
No. So those two things do not work, okay? So then you have to try something else. Well, we know maybe if I put the 2 and 3 in a different place, is that going to help? What if I put the 3 here and the 2 here? Is that going to work? I don't think it's going to work, so you're going to have to try something else, okay? Now, Mrs. Voss or someone came up with this method where you put a number in the cross, except that number that you put in the cross is called the cross and box method. The number that you put up at the top is not this 7. It is the product of 6 and 7. What is 6 times 7? 42, okay? 42 goes up here, okay? And then down here goes your 13, okay? 13n, really, okay? Isn't that right? That's right, okay? And then,
So your fact is all multiply 42?
yeah, so what you have to do is do the same thing. What two things multiply to 32 and 42, sorry, and add to 13?
6 and 7.
Very good. 6 and 7. Okay? Now the difference between this and this is like this is an n and this is 6n and 7n. Okay? And so then I put my 6n here and my 7n here. And it doesn't matter which one you put where, okay? And these two will still add to 13n, okay? Now, this is why I told you to do the GCF, okay? Look at this row right here. What is the biggest thing that I can pull out of both a 6n squared and a 7n? What goes into both 6n squared and 7n? What do they both have in them? An n, okay? What do both 6n squared and 6n in this column have in common? They have a 6 what? A 6n, okay? Now, if I did this correctly, and then if you didn't know that this was 1 and 7 here, you could just pull out the greatest common factor from this row, which is 1, because the only thing they have in common is 1. And the greatest common factor in this column is 7. See how there's a 7 in there? Okay? So I will tell you that this thing factors to 6n plus 7 times n plus 1. And if you multiply this together, you FOILed it, you'd get 6n squared, right? 6n times 1 would give you 6n. 7 times n gives you 7n, and 1 times 7 gives you 7. I add those two together, and I get that. That's called the cross and box method. I'm going to write down the steps.
Yes.
Okay?
It's a beautiful thing to do.
So here's the steps, right? You should write these down. So steps for, we just call it the cross and box. That's not the same as the Indian method?
No.
Okay, it's probably similar.
Similar.
Okay, steps for cross and box. Sorry.
And this is when your leading
Yeah.
coefficient is more than 1.
So this is for things like, yeah, when the coefficient in front of the x squared is bigger than 1. It'll also work when the coefficient isn't bigger than 1, but you don't want to yeah, it's too time consuming. So I'm going to put another one in here, just as an example. Oh, I'm going to do almost the same thing. 6x squared. So say we had 6x squared plus 20. We'll do this one in a minute. 23x plus 7 instead of what we got. So step 1 is to multiply the first and last term, or coefficients. Should I call them coefficients, or first and last constants? Terms? We'll just say terms.
The constant and the leading coefficient.
Yeah, first and last. Let's just call it numbers. Let's call it numbers, because all that terminology will get. Okay? 2. Then we put that product, which is what you get. Product, my thing is product at top of cross, top of the x of the cross. So you put it up there, okay? And then 3, you put, my thing is running out of ink. Put the middle term, coefficient, that's the number before, coefficient, that's the number before the term, at bottom, okay? That goes right there. Okay? And 4, you find the numbers, find the numbers trinomial. It's a trinomial quadratic. We'll just call it trinomial in factored form. Okay? So there's lots of steps here. And there's probably a couple steps in between here that I'm kind of skipping. But that gives you basic. So let's try to do this. Okay? Do we have enough room? I don't have enough room. How can I get another page up here?
Just copy and paste the two.
What?
Just copy and paste the two new page using image.
Oh, you are a smart kid. Okay, so what Fred said, just go like this. Take a picture of this. Okay? And I'm going to take a picture. Whoops. Except I just messed up. Let's go back. Let's get my camera again. Partial. Not more math. Yes? Sorry, there's always room. So then I can squish this down. So once I get a picture of this, where's my picture? Is this my picture? I'm going to squish it. Okay? So that I have all the steps over here. Okay? And I'm going to drag it. So there we go. That's good. Okay. So I'm going to do this with 6x squared plus 23x plus 7. So the first thing I'm going to do is make the cross here. There we go. Cross. And what goes at the top of this cross? Let's do a different color. 6, no. Multiply the first and last numbers. 6 and 7. What goes up here?
42.
42. Okay? And put that at the top. Put the product at the top. I did that. Put the middle term coefficient at the bottom. So what number goes down here at the bottom?
23.
23. Okay? Now, find the numbers that multiply to the top and add to the bottom. Anyone know what those are? We tried 6 and 7 doesn't work, right? Because that doesn't add to that. 21 and 2. Who said that? Very good, Mary. So 21 times 2 gives you 42. And 21 plus 2 gives you 23. Right? Got it? Okay. So the next step is to make the box. Okay? So I'm going to grab a box. First box. Here's a box. And I'm going to make the box. Okay? And I'm going to draw in some lines. And I didn't say what to put in this box, but that's the step I skipped because I was writing down too many steps. So what goes right here? 6x squared goes right here. Okay? And the product goes 7 goes down here. Whoops. Thanks, Emma. 7, that's Megan. Sorry. 7 goes down here. And what goes here and here? Hello, that's what I just found. 21x, those are x's, and 2x go here. That's what this did for you. It kind of broke this apart, okay? So I made the box, filling in, x squared goes here, 6x squared goes here, okay? 7 goes in here, okay? And your 23 goes in here and here, but it's split apart into 21 and 2. Okay, your 23x. So these two are going to add up to 23x. Okay? Whoa, I hate when I make those little slashes marks. So now I'm going to factor all the GCFs from rows and columns. What goes into both 6x squared and 21x? What goes into both 6 and 21? 3. Okay? What goes into both x squared and x? X, right? What goes into 6x squared and 2x? 2x, okay? And then I can you can either pull out the greatest common factor from here. What's the greatest common factor in this row? Or I could say 2 times what number will give me 2x? 2 times what? 2 times what? 2x times what gives me 2x? 1, right? And 3x times what will give me 21x? 7. Or you could just look at this thing, right? what has to go here and here, but I would, no, you have to put a 7 here because these two have to multiply to this, okay? So now, finally, I did that, and now I could write the trinomial in factor form as this 6x squared plus 23x plus 7 is equal to 2x plus 7 times 3x plus 1. Yes? Does that work?
Yes.
It works. Oh, you're making a new seating chart? Okay. All right. So we're gonna do an outro one. Can we do another one? Wait a minute. How are we doing on time? 17 minutes. Let's do another one. Got it. Okay. So here we go. We're gonna do. Make it harder. Oh gosh.
You hear that? Oh my God, that's a good idea. Right inside.
That one's easy. 4x squared. 4x squared plus 16x plus 7. It's always plus 7. Oh well.
Well, 7's not nice, and why?
4x squared plus 16x plus 7. So let's make our little cross thing. What goes at the top of the cross?
4 times 7.
28. What goes down here? 16. What two numbers multiply to 28 and add to 16? Good. 14 and 2. Okay, so that can take, that's the hard part, right? It's figuring out what goes here and here. So 4 and 7, that doesn't work, 28 and 1, that doesn't work. So the only other factors of 28 are 14 and 2. Now I make my box, okay? And I'm going to make my box, go, draw a line, this, and this, and I'm going to put 4x squared here, 4x squared, 7 down here. These two terms have to add to 16x. You don't really have to put that there, but kind of helps to think about it. 14x, it doesn't matter where you put that, and 2x goes over here. What's the GCF in this row? What? 2 what, Charlie? 2x, good. What's the GCF in this column? No, what comes out above 14 and 4?
2x.
2x, okay. And then you say, what do I need to multiply 2 by to make it into 2x? 2x times what will give you this 2x? 1, okay? And 2x times what over here will give you this 14x? 7. There you go. So this factors 2. 2x plus 1 times 2x plus 7. 2x plus 1 times 2x plus 7. Should we do it? You try?
You try.
Oh.
You try. You try.
You try.
That was very, I gotta think of an easier one. Okay. And then I'll show you one more. Okay? Hold on.
Did that last one really get that much harder?
You try. 15, so here we go.
Alright, sounds good. And I think we need to.
Yeah.
15x squared.
It's not right, bro.
I'm sorry.
I was just amazed.
Okay. 6 here and negative 5 here, right?
Yeah.
And then you made the box. Did you make the box? So then she made the box. Good. And she did, good. And she put a 15x squared here. And she put a negative 2 here. And then she put a 6 in one of these spots and a negative 5 in the other spot. Doesn't matter which way you go. Okay? What's the GCF in 15 and, whoops, 5x, 6x? What's the GCF in this row? What goes into both 15 and 5? 5. What goes into both x squared and x? X. What goes into both 15 and 6? 3. And take out the x as well. Okay? So 5x, or excuse me, 3x times what number will give me this 6x?
2.
Plus 2. And 5x times what will give me negative 5x? Negative 1. There's my two factors. 5x plus 2 times 3x minus 1. There you go. That's a little tricky. Okay? So, I'm going to